I walked down every single aisle of the big blue box store to try to find incredible deals that nobody talks about. And I walked away from there with some true hidden gems. So let's take a look at the 6 items I picked up for less than 40 bucks. So typically my favorite big box store is colored orange. You're not the only one that likes the color orange, cuz. But this time I tried to give our old boy blue a try. And I'll have to admit I was pleasantly surprised, as there's 2 brands that I found that aren't available at that orange store. So not only did I want to try out these 2 brands, but I also had 2 other goals in mind. The tool had to be unique and less than 40 bucks. So let's not waste any more time and dive into these 6 unique tools, all for under $40, going from cheapest to most expensive. This is the Cobalt Self-Lock 16-foot tape measure. Let's check it out. Speaking of tape, did you hear Bill Cosby made a sex tape before he got locked up? Yeah, it's supposed to be stronger than duct tape. So obviously this is the cheapest tool of the day, coming in at a price of less than $8.50. So this tape easily fits in my $40 tool budget, but what makes this tool unique? Well, other than the price, it's actually got a couple of features that I really like. Let's take a closer look. First up, this is an automatic tape measure, which is my preferred style. This means that when you pull it out, it's going to stay in place. And if you want to release the blade on the tape, you simply press the black button on top to reel it back in. But right next to that black button, you may have noticed another one, which is colored red. This is an even more secure locking mechanism that gives the tape resistance from being pulled out further or being pushed back in, which is a pretty nice feature to have if you want a little less tape movement. And just like with most tape measures, it's got a belt clip on the back and even an area where you can add a wrist strap if that's your thing. But let's take a closer look at what caught my eye on this tape measure, which is the blade itself. Now the hook isn't anything spectacular, but it does have a nail hole on the very tip. But the blade of the tape is a little bit more impressive. First off, it's nylon coated and it has the increments marked off in fractions for every 1/8 of an inch. And you probably noticed that the front side's got a nice neon yellow color with black writing that's easy to read, but if we flip that tape around, you can see that this is double-sided, with the markings laid out in the vertical direction, and once again, it's very easy to read with the black writing and white background. And all of these features for a 16-foot tape measure make this a great pickup in my opinion from Lowe's. But we're just getting started. Let's dive into our next tool, which is just 50 cents more. This is the Cobalt 3-way hex key set. Let's give it a look. You know, that hex key reminds me of when I lock my keys inside my car outside that abortion clinic. Yeah, they don't take too kindly when you go in and ask for a coat hanger. So if you're like me, one of the first things that you'll notice with this tool is its unique design, and that's exactly why I had to pick this tool up. Any tool that looks like a weapon is going to find a place in my shop. But let's take a more serious look at this tool. The first thing that you'll notice is the triangular shape of this hex key set, which is a lot different from your traditional sets. It's this ergonomic shape that's going to allow you to apply torque with just your finger and your thumb. And since this thing has 3 keys exposed at all time, it eliminates the need to go back and forth between a couple of keys. Another nice thing about these keys is each one is double-sided, so you can pull one out, flip it around, and use the other side, giving you access to 6 different size keys all in one small tool. And in my case, I got the metric set, which includes 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, and 6 millimeter keys. And if we look closer at each one of those keys, you can see they have a ball end, which just gives these keys a longer life and prevents stripping. And there's a very small chance you're going to lose these keys once they're in place, as they have a bearing on the side and they lock into place with a nice little click. And because of all these features and this tool's unique ergonomic design, I think this is a great pickup from Cobalt. Well, I think you could tell which one of these 2 brands has a cheaper price tag, and that's obviously Cobalt. But we've got one more Cobalt tool to take a look at. This is the Cobalt Bucket Organizer. Let's give it a look. You know, I love to organize things. I even organized a threesome last night. 2 no-shows, but still a pretty good time. So I'm guessing all of you have a 5-gallon bucket laying around your shop or your garage. It's this item that instantly converts that 5-gallon bucket into an amazing accessory. So how does this thing work? Well, let's pop the tags and find out. So if there's only one person who hasn't seen how these things work, I thought it was worth checking out, as I thought there was only one game in town, and that was the Bucket Boss. But as it turns out, there's a whole lot of companies making these now, including Cobalt. And true to Cobalt fashion, this thing's about 15 to 20% cheaper at $14.98. So how does this thing work? Well, it really couldn't be more simple. Simply open up the organizer, slide the interior sleeve into the inside of the bucket and the exterior sleeve on the outside of the bucket. And with the bucket organizer in place, you've instantly converted that 5-gallon bucket into an enormous toolkit. First off, this organizer is made of blue polyester for durability and water resistance, which is great because if you're going to be using this thing like I do, this is going to be an outdoor toolbox. So how much storage does this thing have? Well, actually it's got quite a lot, with 26 total pockets, with 18 exterior pockets as well as 8 interior pockets. And all those pockets are great as you can hold a lot of tools in those pockets, but I think one of my favorite thing about this organizer is you can use the bucket itself. Since 5-gallon buckets have about an 11.5-inch diameter, you can fit some larger tools inside that bucket. And if you don't believe me, check out the number of power tools I packed inside this bucket, including 2 drivers, a jigsaw, a nailer, a multi-tool, and a circular saw. And with that type of transport capacity, you can get almost any job done, making picking up this incredible Cobalt bucket organizer a no-brainer in my book. Well, we've just begun to scratch the surface on these unique tools from Lowe's that are less than $40, as we've gone through 3 and we have 3 more. So let's dive into our second brand of the day, which is Klein, with our next tool. Before we do that, however, I ask you to do me a really big favor and hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and share this video, as it really does help out this channel. Also, if you haven't already, check out my website, FlynnDoggWoodwork.com, where you can get access to all sorts of fun woodworking accessories like all the t-shirts that I wear in my videos. And I've just recently released some new models. And just like with all my videos, if any of the tools we take a look at today interest you, I'll leave links in the description below so that you can go check them out for yourself. And lastly, if you'd like to support the channel further, check out my channel memberships where you can get early access to all my videos as well as 1 member video a week. Now let's get into that 4th tool. This is the Klein Flick Blade Utility Knife. Let's give it a quick look. You know, that razor blade reminds me of when that nurse swallowed one of those. Yeah, she gave herself a tonsillectomy, appendectomy, and even a hysterectomy and managed to circumcise 3 doctors all in one shift. So I've been wanting to check out Klein for quite some time now, as this is a brand that they don't typically offer at Home Depot. Now yes, Klein is a little bit more expensive, but this utility knife still came under $21. I think you'll be quite surprised at one of this utility knife's features, as I've never seen it on any other utility knife. Before we dive into this knife's secret feature, let's take a look at the utility knife itself. As you just saw, this blade has got a fast action knife. By simply depressing the black button on the side, you can quickly get this knife into action. One of the first things that you'll notice is at the base of the blade, it's got a built-in wire stripper. As you probably guessed, this utility knife uses standard razor blades and the blades are easily switched out. Simply depress the small button on the spine of the blade and the blade is easily released. And since you can use both sides of this blade, you can just flip it around and reuse the blade. Another nice feature of this utility knife is it does have 2 locking settings, one at the standard setting and another one at about 60 degrees. And with the knife open at either setting, there's even some blade storage here. By pulling out on the tab underneath that blade, you can see it reveals storage for 1 extra blade. But let's talk about that secret feature I was talking about earlier, as it has everything to do with that little knob on the bottom. Surprisingly, it's this knob that allows you to convert this utility knife into a scraper. By pulling out on that black tab on the back and rotating the wheel, this thing quickly converts to that scraper. And once that blade's exposed, you simply depress that black tab and everything's locked into place. And I'll have to say the mechanics on exposing that blade feel very well made, as there's very little play when exposing that blade. And having a utility knife that converts to a scraper is something that I've never seen before, as it's perfect for cleaning up glue squeeze out or even cleaning up the glue on your workspace. And for me personally, I couldn't be more pleased with this 2-in-1 functionality of this Klein utility knife. Well, we're getting through them and only 2 more left to take a look at. Let's dive into our next most expensive item, which is another Klein tool. This is the Klein Tools 7-in-1 Impact Flip Socket Set. Let's give it a look. Speaking of flip, that reminds me of a couple years ago when I was flipping through the channel. My ex asked me what's on TV. I told her dust. I think that was the beginning of the end. So this is an item I've been eyeballing for a while, as I've done a lot of my Amazon deep runs. So when I saw it at Lowe's for the same price as our last item at just under $21, I knew I had to give it a try. So what makes this tool unique? Well, it has everything to do with its 7-in-1 features. If we take this thing apart, you'll see that it comes with 5 pieces, including 3 double-sided sockets, as well as a Torx bit and a metal shaft. Let's first take a look at those double-sided sockets. You'll notice that each one of these sockets is color-coded so that you can find exactly what you want. And since all 3 of these sockets are double-sided, there's 6 different sizes that this tool can accommodate, including 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, half, and 9/16 inch. And it's each of these sockets that work in combination with this impact-rated shaft. And you'll see that that metal shaft has a hexagonal shape and that locking knob on the end so that it can fit in any drill or any driver. So how does this thing work? Well, if we look inside any one of the sockets, you'll see there's a star-shaped design. It's this star shape that has a counterpart right on the impact-rated driver bit. This means that no matter what direction you slide your socket onto that impact driver bit, it's going to lock into place with that star design, making each socket truly reversible. And to make each connection even more secure, either with a socket or something like a lag screw, the driver bit also has a very strong magnet incorporated onto the design. Another thing you'll notice is there's indentions running down the shaft of the driver bit. It's these indentions that allow you to nest those sockets onto the shaft of the bit. They provide a detent for each socket so that it locks onto the shaft of that bit. And there's no particular order you need to have those sockets aligned on the shaft. You can have them from smallest to largest, or you can have them mix matched. So whether you use this as an extension to drive in screws or a socket to drive in lags, this thing can accommodate it. And because of this item's dynamic functionality, I think this is a great pickup from Klein Tools. Well, it's hard to believe it, but we're down to our last tool of the day. Hopefully this one stacks up like the rest. This is the Klein Tools 8-piece screwdriver set. Let's give it a look. You know, I dressed up as a screwdriver last Halloween. It wasn't the best costume in the world, but it did manage to turn a couple heads. So this item is a little bit more pricey, coming in at today's max of just under 40 bucks. But I think you might be quite surprised once we get into what's included with this set. Now, I'm not going to bore you to death by taking a deep dive into a screwdriver set. However, we will take a look at what's included. And what's included are 7 screwdrivers in this 8-piece screwdriver set. But we'll get into what that last item is in just a second. This set comes with 4 Phillips head screwdrivers as well as 3 slotted screwdrivers. Now, as I just said, we're not going to take a deep dive into these screwdrivers, but there are a couple features that I did want to mention. First off, each one of these screwdrivers has a very grippable rubber handle with some notches on the very end to give you even more support. You'll also notice that on the butt of each screwdriver, it's going to give you a diagram telling you what each screwdriver is, which is perfect if you're putting these things into something like your bucket organizer. And it comes with both a smaller version of the Phillips head and slotted screwdriver with a knob on the end that moves independently from the handle. And that's about all I want to cover with the features of these screwdrivers. And frankly, none of those are the reason why I got this set. The reason I got this set was because of the 8th item in the 7-piece screwdriver set. You guessed it, that's a magnetizer and demagnetizer for these screwdrivers. Out of the box, none of these screwdrivers are magnetic, but we can easily solve that with this simple tool. If we look at this orange fob, you'll see that there's 4 holes in it. 1 on the top to magnetize your screwdrivers and 3 on the bottom to demagnetize. To magnetize one of these demagnetized screwdrivers, all you need to do is to take the screwdriver and place it into that larger hole on top, trying not to touch the sides. Which frankly, in my opinion, is almost impossible to do, but it'll still work if you do touch those sides. And once you've inserted that screwdriver into that magnetizer for just a few seconds, you can see that that screwdriver is now magnetic, allowing you to get complete control of your hardware as you're driving it in. But what if you want to go in the other direction and demagnetize? Well, it's just as easy. Simply take your magnetized screwdriver and instead of placing it into the top of this magnetizer, place it into one of the 3 bottom holes. And in just a matter of a couple of seconds, you've instantly returned that screwdriver to its demagnetized state, which still amazes me every time I use that magnetizer. And if you're just looking for that magnetizer and demagnetizer by itself, they do sell that separately, but it costs about 10 bucks. And because this screwdriver set not only comes with a screwdriver, but the magnetizer itself, I think this is a great pickup from Klein. Well, I don't know about you, but I had a heck of a lot of fun checking out these hidden gems from Lowe's for less than 40 bucks. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and share this video, as it truly does help. Don't forget to check out my website, FlynnDoggWoodwork.com, where you can get access to all sorts of fun woodworking accessories like all the t-shirts that I wear in my videos. And as a reminder, just like with all my videos, I'll leave links in the description below, so if any of the tools we took a look at today interest you, you can go check them out for yourself. And if you'd like to support the channel further, check out my channel memberships where you can get early access to all my videos as well as 1 member video a week. Until next time, take care as always. All right, let's get it. So I went to donate blood the other day and it was an awful experience. First questions they asked me was, whose blood is it? Where'd you get it? And why is it in a bucket? Good. But, Let's try this one. What do Donald Trump and a razor have in common? Well, they both make Bush look better. All right, last try. So my ex once tried to cut my privates off. She missed and hit my thigh. She did get charged though with a misdemeanor.